And we are live.
Okay, namaste everybody. Welcome to our webinar on HinduVote. My name is Deepa Karthik. I'm a volunteer with Hindu Pact and also the executive director of HinduVote. And it is my great pleasure to invite Dhananjay Bhide, who is going to, our esteemed volunteer and a very active community worker, who is going to actually give us this a walkthrough through the new project of HinduVote. Before I hand over, I also want to state that everything that I'm saying here is in my personal capacity and not in the capacity of any elected position that I hold. As I hold an elected position in my town, I'm required to give this disclaimer. So it's over to you, Dhananjay ji, to walk us through HinduVote, an amazing project that we've been working on for so long. And I'm so glad that it's been timely released, just before a very, monumental election for us. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to you.
Namaste, everyone. This is Dhananjay Bhide. I'm calling from San Diego, California. Before I get started with the HinduVote, Ajayji, maybe you would like to speak a bit about Hindu Pact and then go forward from there.
So I'll start with a little bit of self-introduction. My name is Ajay Shah. I am the president of Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America, or World Hindu Council of America, also known as VHPA. I am also the co-convener and the founder of Hindu Pact, which is Hindu Policy Research and Advocacy Collective. We're about 3.5, 4-year-old initiative of VHPA, and we have been very active in advocacy and policy research in America. So if you ranging from issues such as swastika to caste resolutions in America, to analysis of all the surveys and reports that come out, and really the vandalism in mandirs. And more importantly, we have a couple of projects that I would just say a few words about. One of them is called Chingari. Chingari is our project, which is Coalition for Hindu Girls Who Are Abducted and Their Rights. That's what Chingari stands for. Chingari is about the girls, little girls in Pakistan who are 10 years, 9 years, 10 years, 12 years old, who get abducted from their home, right from the arms of their parents. And then they are taken away, they're converted, and they're married off to men who are 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old. So nobody in the world speaks about them. According to Pakistan Human Rights Commission, 3 girls a day like this are abducted every single day. So that is one of our projects, to give voice to these voiceless girls. And it is really heart-wrenching if you see the videos on our website. We also have American Hindus Against Defamation, which is arguably the first Hindu anti-defamation movement anywhere in the world. And it's very actively monitoring various defamation activities that happen about our deities, our culture, our icons, all of that. And then we also have Hari, which is Hindus, for human rights. Basically, we are fighting for human rights for Hindus, whether it's in Bangladesh, whether it's Pakistan, whether it's in any part of the world. If human rights are impacted, so Hindus advancing human rights, that is Hari. That is one of our other projects. So we are advancing human rights because that is underpinning of our dharma. And finally, we have Hindu Lounge, which is a weekly live show on contemporary American Hindu issues. And we are going to talk about HinduVote here. So with that, I turn it over to Dhananjay ji. It's such a privilege to have Deepa and Dhananjay. Both of them are very competent, and they've been working relentlessly on the HinduVote project. So it is my pleasure, my privilege to have them take this project forward. So Dhananjay ji, all yours.
Dhanyavad and Namaste Devi aur Sajjano. My name is Dhananjay Bhide. I am based out of San Diego, California. I have been in US since 1985, so quite a long time, and I consider US as my karma bhumi, as all of us do. And for many of us, India happens to be our janma bhumi, punya bhumi. And so, of course, we have vested interest in the betterment of the relations between both countries. Today's focus, and I'll start by sharing the slide deck, is on the HinduVote. In order to keep it brief and very focused, we are going to try to focus on the 5WH, who, what, why, where, when, how, when it comes to the voting in the US elections that are coming up in literally under 2 weeks now. Ajay ji made a very nice introduction and gave a big picture perspective on multiple initiatives of Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America or the World Hindu Council for that matter. One of the very major initiatives, as he said, is that of Hindu vote. Let's look at what our agenda for this particular meeting is. What we have put together is a very comprehensive framework of message with the intent to inform and mobilize Hindu Americans. And the webinar overall has multiple aspects, the who, what, why, kind of aspects to it. We want to help you appreciate the importance of Hindu vote in the upcoming elections in the US. And we know that such elections are held, if not the presidential ones, but the other for senators and congressmen every 2 years. This we intend to be as our long-term initiative with sustained efforts to help mobilize the Hindu American vote. The other aspect of our agenda is to highlight issues that are important to Hindu American community here. And Ajay ji spoke very eloquently about the American Hindu agenda. We will go very quickly through a high level of 8 dimensions of that particular American Hindu agenda. And in the end, the how part is to help showcase the HinduVote.org website, which has amazing, excellent tools that help all of us make the decisions that we want to in terms of our voting for the presidential, state, as well as local elections. Now, we Indians, Hindus, have been known for our leadership in many high-tech industries. This particular website with all the tools also reflects on the hard work of Ajay ji and many others in providing a platform on which to consolidate a lot of information that's been pulled in. A lot of data analytics and visualization has gone into it, and that will make the provisioning of these tools, and he will walk us through it at a later point, will help many of us make the decisions. As we talk about what our agenda is, it's also important to note what our agenda is not. The intent of this and such similar webinars is not to veer any of the voters in making their decisions for one candidate or the other, or one party or the other. The intent here is to provide a lot of information to the end users, as in voters, with the tools and the information that will enable them to make the decisions that they feel are right for them. Who's our target audience? Let's talk about that. Obviously, the Hindu Americans, whether they are born in India or US or rest of the world, and there are roughly 4 million of us. Then there are also Americans of religions that are affiliated with Hinduism, and we consider those as Buddhists, for example. There are 5 million of those. There are Sikhs, about 500,000 or so, and Jains also about 150,000 of them. Now, if we even look at those who practice yoga or meditation and the spiritual seekers, a good 14-15% of US population falls in that category. What that means is there are about 55 million Americans who are empathetic to the Hindu Dharma and our philosophy and our way of life. There are also many other individuals from diverse backgrounds that have adopted Hindu practices. So we wish to inform and speak on behalf of those as well. We certainly want to speak on behalf of those who support religious diversity and tolerance, and certainly not those who have claims of exclusivist access to God or have violent belief systems. Last but not least, we are also wanting to represent the perspective of all of those who are empathetic toward Sanatan Dharma and Eastern beliefs in general. And that really covers about 30 to 40% of the overall population. So what we intend to present here is not something that's in the selfish interest of one small sect or ism, but what we are asking for is something that is only fair and is applicable for everybody. And that also again goes back to our Hindu Dharma and belief system. We want nothing for ourselves that's not available for others as well. So all we are helping others appreciate is the fairness in the kind of agenda that we have set up for ourselves. Now, with that said in mind, now let's look at why it's important to be looking at the Hindu vote. You know, all of us know that Hindus form a very significant part of the demographic. At a high level, the Hindus alone are about 1 or 2%, and when we talked about Hindus, Jains, Buddhists, and others who are empathetic to the Hindu cause, it's a very large percentage of American voting population. We all know that Hindus across America have achieved exceptional levels of education and have income, but we also now need to reflect that in a matching political cloud. Again, not just for the betterment of ourselves as individuals, but for the betterment of US. Now, interestingly, in many of the battleground states, the Hindu population often exceeds the margin of victory of candidates. What we are showing you here is just the example of some of these key battleground states and how the election results of 2020 match up with the Hindu population. So what you see on the screen are some of the battleground states and the difference in the vote share of Biden versus Trump. That's this color. And then what is the Hindu population in those states? It's obvious here that indeed in these battleground states, the Hindu population in many cases, not all cases, exceeds the margin of victory, which also means that if only we are proactive enough to go out and vote, can have a good influence on the overall results. And knowing that kind of a cloud that Hindus hold, our political leaders, will then be more sensitive or empathetic to the issues that are important to us. Now that we have identified who are we targeting this webinar toward and why we are doing this, it's important for us now to appreciate what kind of aspects are we talking about, what kind of categories of issues play a role in our decision making. Whether I'm a Hindu or not, for all of us, typically anybody would think of a few basic things. Who's good for US, the country, and who's good for myself, my family, and so on. For those of us who are Hindu Americans, and many of us are from India, but this applies to immigrants from any other countries that have the Hindu, Jain, Buddhist, or Sikhism as their belief system. This applies to them as well. We also want to look at who's going to be better for relationships between US and India. And this is especially important because we are talking about the largest and the oldest democracies here. And the more these two democracies are better aligned on multiple issues, the better it is for world prosperity and peace as well anyway. So again, we are not asking for something that should not be offered for others as well. And again, that again goes back to our belief system. Now, some of the typical issues that are important for Hindu Americans obviously relate to immigration reforms, when it comes to religious freedom, and there are many aspects of that we will look into now. Also about the anti-discrimination aspects, be it in academics or be it in our occupation. And then last but not least, again, the Hindu-India relations. These key issues we have compartmentalized or put together into 8 dimensions, and that's what we will look into now. So this relates to what? What are the aspects of agenda over and above who's good for me and who's good for US? These are the additional considerations that all of us can have in our decision making. Again, the intent here is not to...
Sorry, I just wanted to just chime in here very quickly and just
Please.
give our our attendees and everybody who's watching live just a quick sort of background on how we came about creating this American Hindu agenda for 2024. It was really more to be focused on the issues that are important to our Hindu community, to our dharmic community, and it has been. It was not created in a silo. We had numerous discussions with various Hindu advocacy groups that are working in the interest of Hindus. And we had many, many discussions with them. And out of that discussion, there were 8 points that really, emerged. And these are the points that we have sort of listed as part of our American Hindu agenda for 2024. It's basically to give, our efforts a direction so that when we go and approach our elected officials, we have something concrete that we're looking for once we offer them our support. So these 8 points really speak to that sort of direction that we want to move forward in. And somewhere all of these 8 points, not in any order of particular importance, but they were all equally important is what we could say. And they were important to various different groups, but all dharmic groups came forward, provided their inputs into this. We had a number of iterations, we reviewed it, refined it, and finally landed on these 8-point agenda for 2024.
Very well said, Dipaji, and again, keep jumping in as we keep moving forward. So let's look at what those 8 agenda aspects are. And again, some of them one can relate closer to than some others, but again, these are all additional considerations that we can all have into our decision making. After we look at these, we'll look at how do I now go about getting enough information related to these agenda aspects. And that's something that IJG will walk us through on the HinduVote website. So let's look at the first one, Stop Hindu Hate. There are many incidences that we have seen lately of Hindu phobia. The words, there are some other words that are already in usage, but we have seen aspects where I have seen a report, for example, of somebody who was literally killed on the spot with a gun to his head. But there are other aspects in which there is, even in academia, there is either covert or overt agenda at times in maligning the Hindu practices and belief systems and so on. One of our expectations or call is for defunding academic departments and academicians who actively promote Hindu hatred. Deepa, do you want to add something here? If not, I will keep moving forward.
No, yeah, let's keep moving forward because we have an hour, right? So we already.
Sure. When it comes to vandalism, we have seen multiple instances of Hindu temples getting vandalized or with graffiti being put on the walls. We have seen instances of some of the idols literally being destroyed or thrown some garbage at and things like that. And this has happened with some of the statues of Mahatma Gandhi as well across the US. These things not only vitiate the atmosphere, but they also create bad blood among neighbors or among societies. We strongly call for and support any FBI investigations in finding the systemic causes and culprits who do engage in such violent acts. When it comes to legal immigration, there are a lot of things to be said about this. And again, we want to emphasize that we are talking about legal immigration. I don't think any country should tolerate illegal immigration. There are multiple pathways toward immigration. And as we say, India provides a very large number of highly skilled workers to the US. We think that, and that is probably one of the most beneficial channel of immigration to the US. That's what keeps many of our healthcare, high tech, and many other industries leading in the forefront, even among the developed countries. So endorsing increased level of immigration of highly skilled workers is certainly in the interest of the US economy in the long term as well, and in our competitive viability of USA vis-a-vis many other developed and developing and competing nations. We all have heard of the green card backlogs. If I remember right, some of these categories of green cards these days take decades. I heard some categories as of today stand for multiple decades worth of delay before they can become citizens, going from the permanent residency green card status to the US citizenship. And that creates very significant challenges for not only those who are in the green card as the parents who are here, but even for their children when it comes to their educational planning and so on. There are similarly challenges in family-based immigration as well. There are now country-based caps on H-1B visa. The very fact that India has a very massive, probably the major rate of percentage of graduates that it can provide to the world, I think instead of having these H-1B visa limits to be country-based, they should be qualification-based. So essentially, we are calling for removal of country-based caps on H-1B visas, or at least significant increase in those kinds of visas for Indians. We talked about the green card, expediting that process as well. Let's move on to the next one that comes when it comes to fairness in education and occupation. Many of us have heard of this fair admissions versus Harvard kind of a case in which the Supreme Court essentially banned race-based affirmative action. There are many who say that if such race-based affirmative action plans were not in place, then even the Ivy League and many of the esteemed universities will have a much larger percentage of Indian graduates than has been the case until now. And we therefore strongly support merit-based educational as well as occupational opportunities. Let's talk about human rights. Now, Ajay ji talked about this. As they say, the proof is in the pudding. In India, he talked eloquently about eight. Can you even imagine? Can any father of a daughter or any mother of a daughter imagine her 8, 10, 12-year-old being abducted, never to be seen again, married off to a person she has never met, she has no interest in spending the rest of her life with, and being forced into a marriage and not be even in touch with her parents anymore. These kinds of things have been happening for decades now in countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. The less I say, the better about the kind of violence that we have seen recently in the riots that happened and the government takeover or coup that happened in Bangladesh. And there have been multitude of reports of how homes of Hindus have been vandalized. Many Hindus have been killed. Several Hindu women have been raped and so on. And there hasn't been enough of anger or frustration or strong signals given by many countries in such kinds of egregious acts of abuse of religious minorities. I think it is only fair that we ask for the US government to speak up in a more proactive way in such incidences and also withhold US aid to religious theocracies. Many times we need to talk to people in the language they understand, and a lot of people certainly understand the language of money or the language of threat of violence and so on. So it's very important that we ask for US to speak more proactively and intervene more proactively, use its hard and soft power to help create a more fair lifestyle or for religious minorities among countries that are religious theocracies. There have been many cases of idols or artifacts being stolen out of India, be it from temples or other locations, and taken to foreign countries for individual personal financial gains. We call for facilitation of repatriation of such stolen Hindu artifacts from be they be placed in museums or in private collections of people, but we call for repatriation of such artifacts back to their country of origin, whether the country of origin is India or Thailand or Japan or wherever. We ask for that kind of repatriation. We have also seen how Hinduism and Indian history is at times misrepresented in school curricula. This is a significant concern because at a young influential age, wrong perceptions are created about about Hindutva or about Hindu Dharma and about Indian history as well. So we ask for greater sensitivity and changes to such misrepresentation and stereotyping of Hindu history and Hindu culture, Hindu belief system, and Indian history as well. If we move on to the India-US partnership, both again being among the largest and oldest democracies and having had they are literally natural allies or natural partners. We seek those candidates who are going to support or promote multifaceted partnership with India. And when we say that, we also want to be saying that, if the partnerships with India are not only not taken seriously, but those who are inimical to the long-term democratic collaboration across US and India are being actually supported in a covert or overt action, then we want our political representatives to be standing up against those practices. And again, this is because the good multifaceted partnership with India is going to, first of all, have impact across many dimensions. India is now one of the 5 largest economies. So better relationships with India are good for US as well in terms of trade. There are deepening defense ties now. And with the situation in Asia and even across the world now, for the sake of geopolitical stability across the world, it's very important that the natural partnership between US and India keeps deepening. And we would like to have those political leaders who appreciate that, comprehend the big picture aspect of it, and promote such a deeper collaboration with India. Of course, we want any interference by overt or covert means by international, some people call it deep state or whatever, but we want to have our political representatives speak up against such interference. And last but not least, when it comes to the US Commission for International Religious Freedoms, for quite some time, Hindu representation on that and other advisory agencies has been missing. We call for more empathetic appreciation of our concern that there is no Hindu representation there, and therefore help correct that situation. Last but not least, Sanatan Dharma, Hindu Dharma has always stood for being in harmony with the nature. And therefore, whether it's in US, India, or across the world, we have always wanted our political or decision-making governmental bodies to promote environmentally responsible and sustainable development. Anything, Deepaji or Ajayji, you would like to add to this?
I think you covered it all,
You did
Dhananjay.
a fabulous job. You gave a really, really good overview of everything. Thank you.
Yeah. So, this tells us what our agenda is. And now it's time for us to look at, now that we know what we are asking for. And again, to be fair, what we have asked for as a Hindu agenda is for the greater good of the society as a whole. We are not asking for any special treatments for Hindus. And in your mind, each of these agenda items can be better served by one representative or the other. And like we all have been saying, the intent here is not to propose voting for one party or the other, one candidate or the other, be it for the presidential election, be it for the state level elections, be it for the local elections. So the question then comes, now that we agree on what our agenda is, who this is targeted toward and why, now it's time about how do I then go about finding out who of our political representatives stand for the kind of agenda that we want to put forward. For that, I would hand this over now to Ajayji. He and the rest of the team have spent enormous amount of time in the last several months, if not the last couple of years, to put together a massive database that allows you to have the tools that will enable you to make decisions that support our agenda. With that, Ajayji, I will hand it over to you.
It is actually Deepaji.
Deepa.
So I'll hand it over to Deepaji.
Dhanyavad, Dhananjay ji. I'll just give me a minute. I'm just going to pull up the
Should I stop sharing? You can share.
Yes, just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Let me know when you can see my screen.
It's coming up.
Okay.
Yes.
So I just wanted to show our viewers how to get to HinduVote. So you can just type HinduVote in a Google search bar. You will come here and you can just go to voter education, click on this, and it will bring you to our website. All right. So you can see this is our website, which I'm very proud to be associated with as a volunteer. I'm extremely proud to be part of this initiative, which is really going to help us mobilize our dharmic community and enable us to sort of vote with a dharmic lens. Really, the principles of our project are few, which Dhananjay ji has already gone over, which is the American Hindu Agenda for 2024. And I also wanted to show our viewers a few things that's available on our website. One of the most important things that we want to bring out of HinduVote is we want to encourage our mandirs to participate in this process. As you all know, mandirs are really the nucleus of Hindu way of life. And we want to make sure that they feel empowered and they feel aware and educated about the process of how to get involved in civic engagement. I'm also very happy to see all these lovely pictures on our website, because these are all the places where our HinduVote banners and standees were sort of displayed by various temples across United States. and at various functions where, our Hindu brothers and sisters congregate. So it was really nice and very, very heartening to see that. So very quickly here, I have a guide for temples for our viewers, whoever is watching this live on a live stream or is on this particular Zoom. If you have any contacts with temples, please request them to go through this particular guide. It's very user friendly, and the main purpose of this guide is to act as a sort of a ready reckoner or as just a quick reference guide for them to understand what is it that they are legally permissible to do, because most of our mandirs, or rather all of them, have the 501c3 registration. So there are certain activities that they are allowed to do and certain that they are not. As you can see at the bottom of this page, it's a booklet. Actually, when we printed it out, it's a booklet. You can see you can navigate the pages from here. So I'm just going to quickly show you a couple of pages. This is really the index of our table of contents of this particular guide, and I'm going to reduce the zoom a little bit so you can see the whole page. Can you guys see the whole page now, Ajay bhai? Okay, so I'm going to take that as a yes. Okay, great. So this is really the table of contents which sort of lays out everything that mandir administration needs to know and what they need to do in order to get involved in this civic engagement activity. So we have how can they help? What are the rules for nonprofits as it relates to elections? This entire guide has been vetted by lawyers. So nothing here that's written is out of that remit. So you can be comfortable if you want to follow it. And we strongly encourage you to. We also have guides on how you can register voters, how do you get involved in inviting political candidates, how do you conduct a political debate, how do you set up a polling station, how can you what is allowed, what is disallowed when you're commenting on candidates and their campaigns, what kind of a questionnaire can you send to your candidates, what is our American Hindu agenda for 2024, and how do we navigate this website that I'll show you in a few minutes. Okay, so just quickly scrolling through this particular, I'll just quickly take you to one of the most interesting pages. So I really love this page because it talks about all of the do's. What can you do? How can you get involved in issue advocacy? How do you get involved in get out the vote? And then this page also let me wait for it to load. This page also sort of emphasizes on all the do's and the don'ts. So you get to sort of see what is it that you can do, what is it that you can't do. So you see here, you say, okay, so now there are don'ts. You can't get involved in partisan activities. You can't have implicit partnership. What kind of communications and publications can you show? So all of these things are really listed here. And I wanted to take a minute to show our viewers how this guide looks. It is open source. Please feel to download it if you like, if you want to take screenshots of it and share it. This is proprietary to HinduPact and to HinduVote, but we have kept it open for everybody to utilize it. Especially we want all the mandirs across United States to get involved in this work. So we strongly encourage you to sort of help us get contacts with mandirs. We would be willing to have, depending on our geographical locations, whoever are volunteers, they can come over to your mandirs and give you a presentation, or we can conduct Zoom presentations for them so that they know it's not just about the 2024 election. This is a live project. It will be live as long as Hindus are voting in this country. We intend to continue to have these sort of sessions and educate, create awareness about what we can or cannot do. There's been so much misinformation out there, and we are not really clear about what can we do, what we can't do. Or I know a lot of mandirs who've hesitated to get involved in this work, and a lot who have just jumped right in. So we welcome all sorts of questions and concerns if any mandirs have. Trustees, I understand that they might feel less than empowered to do this work, but we are right here to sort of provide any clarification and support that they might need. So it's available all out here under voter education. So you can please feel free to go. So you say home, voter education, and Hindu guide. So I'm going to go back. I'm flipping back to the voter education piece. And if there are any questions, please keep them coming. I will look at that in a moment. Ajay bhai, if there are any questions, feel free to interrupt me. There's also a guide for Hindu voters. This is for individual voters. So if you have anybody who's a new voter, a senior who's voting for the first time, for example, my daughter is going to vote for the first time in this election, and I'm so excited for her. So this is a guide for Hindu voters. So, and really, I mean, everything that is spoken here is almost applicable to others as well who are non-Hindu. It doesn't mean that, it just basically tells you how you can how you can use the information, what you need to be aware of, how do you research your candidates, what can you do, so on and so forth. So that being said, I'll move on. I know I have 15 minutes more, so I'll just move on to our 2024 elections, which is really the crown jewel in the work that we've put out here. As you can see on the screen, this is the Hindu Vote Guide for Elections 2024. And when we say guide, we say we are only providing information in terms of what are the facts. So this the information that you will see on the screen is in no way partisan. It's just reflecting all of the information that you would need to understand about your candidate so that you can vote in an informed way. I'm going to take an example of a particular zip code. Let's assume I live in a particular zip code, but I don't know who my Senate, who's on the Senate, who's the House of Representatives. I don't know their names also. Let me start from there. So I am going to just put in a zip code, okay? And then I'm going to see what comes up. So in this particular zip code, I have Bonnie Watson Coleman, who is the House of Representatives, Darius Mayfield, Kim, Vic Kaplan, and I have got for the US Senate, Bob Menendez, Andrew Quim, Curtis Bashaw, and all of these people. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on, just as an example, I'm going to click on Bonnie Watson Coleman, who's a Democratic House rep here, who's up for election this time, and she's on the ballot. All right. So let's assume I'm a voter who knows nothing about this particular candidate. I have a small blurb of who she is, what, where was she born, what has been her past, so on and so forth. So this is really some information about her. These particular quick links gives me an entire picture of this particular candidate, and I'll walk you through that in a minute. So on the left-hand side, you can see what are our funding details, right? So this of course comes from the FEC data, which is a Federal Election Commission. It comes with a little bit of a time lag, but you can see that this is so far this is the kind of money that she has raised. And that saying that we have, that when you follow the money, you get the story. So the reason we put this up top is because when you look at who's funding this candidate, how much money they have raised, you get a picture, or you get an idea of who these candidates are, who are they likely to support, from who are they getting support from, etc., etc. So we've surfaced a few important Hindu PACs and also some non-Hindu PACs that would be able to tell you, a particular story. So this is the part of the funding details, which tells you a very important story. And the reason we wanted to bring this up is because many a times Hindu voters are not enabled with this information. They're not empowered with it. It's not easy to look up for, it's too time consuming. We are too busy. But this tool is really going to help us, become more informed and become more aware. Now, on the bottom here is something that I really love, and I have to give full credit to Ajay Shah for creating this amazing tool. And also there were some other volunteers who kind of...
I would just say Srinivas Bolisetti, but yeah.
Srinivas ji also, I know, is very
Technical
closely involved in this, and this is a beautiful diagrammatic representation of, we call that 6 degrees of separation between two human beings. This is also sort of a connector between who our representative is and what are, what types of issues that they're involved in, or what is their degree of sort of separation from these issues. So we know what she's done, how has she gone about the issues, how many donations she has received, what are her political affiliations, etc. So this is a visual for us to sort of look into. Okay, so this is something I wanted to surface. I know we might run out of time. I wanted to answer some questions also if there were. So this is something that we created, a candidate questionnaire, again in the same way that we created the American Hindu agenda for 2024. we created this questionnaire in a similar way by talking to various advocacy groups, and we came up with issues and questions that were important to our dharmic community. And these were the questions that sort of surfaced out of that discussion. We have an automated way at HinduVote.org to send questionnaires to all of these candidates, and which is what we have done. The candidates receive a link which is automated. If they click on their link and answer these questions, the answers will get populated here. What this particular page is telling you is that Bonnie Watson Coleman, although has received the questionnaire, has not responded to it. So, you can read the answers if there's a particular candidate who's responded, and then, you will get an idea. Now, this is something which is one of my favorites, which is the key votes. Here are a couple of resolutions rather, which have come up. H is for House, which has come at the House Representatives. S is at the Senate level. What happens is these are all of the the resolutions that are important to Hindus that have come up, for voting, and how have they been voted on. So I'll just take a resolution, which was 1131, which was the Hindu phobia resolution. And you see this was introduced by Thanedar, Shri Thanedar, and what's the status of it. You also get to know who are the co-sponsors. You can click this. Now, if your representative is a co-sponsor, you know that person is, is positively inclined to the dharmic community, because this is one of the resolutions that's important to us. So, Raja Krishnamurti has endorsed it, and he is a co-sponsor. So you basically get the idea, right? What's happening here? We are surfacing this information in a manner that's easy for you to digest and easy for you to understand. So this is one of my favorite parts. This is our Hindu Pact position. On some of them, we have maintained a neutral stand. Some of them we have given a thumbs up, basically because it's already come up for for a voting, because this happened in 2023. Ajay, do you want to add something here?
I will add just one thing. So these are mostly because some of these didn't go for actual vote. They went to they came up, and a lot of the people who are in the House of Representatives or Senate actually became co-sponsors of the bill. So where you see thumbs up are people who co-sponsored a particular resolution, and NA means they didn't really take a stand on that particular resolution. And we are tracking about 11 of these, 9 in the House and 2 in the Senate. And we have one more that has come up, which we may end up adding because it was introduced just a day for yesterday. And that was about the Sikh genocide. So once we have our informed position, we will add to that, that particular resolution also to this. And I'll towards the end, I'll show you one other page where you can also track the same information. So over to you, Deepa.
Yeah, thank you. So the last point that I wanted to talk about here was the voter survey. So the intent is actually also to create a sort of a 360-degree, feedback loop. What's happening is we send them a questionnaire, they respond back, but even the candidates need to know how are their constituents really viewing them, like what's the feedback that they're receiving from the candidates. So you as a voter have the power to express your thoughts on your candidate. So you can go here, submit this particular your survey, and we will have a diagrammatic representation of how, once we collate all of the responses, this will be automated, and we'll kind of have a meter of favorability and neutrality or unfavorable and so on and so forth. So it's really, it's created by a collation of all of the various responses that we receive from the voter community. So this really sort of sums it up in terms of how our Hindu Vote website looks like. There are lots of things that are here that are will be of great interest to everybody. I'll just quickly walk through some of the other tools just in a minute. You have the capability to register to vote here. There will be, as per your state deadline, there will be deadlines to register for a particular election to vote. So you can find your voting locations here. You can verify if you're a registered voter. You can request for an absentee ballot. You can do donor lookups. You can do election reminders. You can set up for yourself. Also, we have, you can engage with your legislators. You can do the bill tracker. It'll take you right to that place, which I just showed you, and also your questionnaire for your candidates, which which we just saw. So lots of things. These are easy to look up. I would really encourage everybody to look into this website. It's there's a lot of work has gone into it, and we are really looking to sort of We make this better and better with every election cycle. Some governor elections are coming up next year, so I'm really looking forward to working on this and strengthening this tool for our dharmic community. And all of us are involved in this. We request you to join hands, support us, support this HinduVote.org, with your generous time, with your donations, so that we can make it better. It's very expensive to maintain these databases. We've done everything we can. Everybody here on this call are 100% volunteer. Nobody is a paid employee. We are all volunteers, and we're all working, to make sure that our dharmic community becomes more strong, more aware, and continues to participate in democracy. Thank you, Ajay. It's over to you.
Deepa ji, can you go back one to the main page of Hindu Vote main page?
Sure.
Now show everyone a couple of things that are very useful from at least people who are following some of these some of these legislations and things like that. So if you go down a little bit, and if you click on the Hindu Pact legislative report card under the Hindu Pact bill tracker, yeah, that one. So this is a single page. If you want to look up all the legislators, House and some Senate, and just change this show to 100 because there are 170 or 80. So we can give a bigger overview. So where it says show, just change it to 100. So we get a. So this is a single page where you can look at all the people who are in the House of Representatives and Senate who have at least opined on one of the legislation or more. And if you can see that, for example, on one of the House resolutions, which is HR 542, and on top it says what is HR 542, which is basically singling out a democracy like India for committing human rights violation. We don't agree with that position. We don't agree with that resolution. And so a person like Representative, I can't read the name. If you go down a little bit, we have given that person a thumbs down, or several of them thumbs down for voting on it. Now, it also brings up an interesting point because, for example, someone like Representative McGovern has voted in agreement with us twice and against us once. So now we leave it to you as a voter to decide whether you want to vote for this person or not, or this representative or not, right? But our job is to make sure that you get all the information that you need to make an informed decision. And some of these can be difficult because they've voted both. So, and then you can say, okay, well, let me follow the money, and then we give you tools to follow the money. So it all kind of comes together. Deepa ji, if you go back one more page, and I'll show the overall bill tracker, how we're tracking the bill. So I don't know if you showed that. I might have missed that part, but I just want to show one thing. And just go down a little bit. Just click on the bill tracker itself. On the HinduVote website. Yeah. And if you click on the bill tracker, so I want to show this only because I want to make sure that everyone kind of, maybe once a month, once in 2 months, please come to this page. And that way you don't have to go through all the congressional sites. You don't have to look at all the newspapers, everything. All the bills are live, tracked live on this page. So at any given moment, where is a bill? Which committee is it on? Who are the sponsors? Who is opposing it? Where does it stand? All of that information for every single bill is in this one page. Okay. And then we also have, very similarly for Hindu Pact, we also have an action center where all our actions are listed on one page. So we have a lot of things that you may find interesting. Just, explore. Okay. Over back to you, Dhananjay ji and Deepa ji.
Thank you, Ajay. I was just kind of looking up if we have any questions. Okay.
Yeah. So Sanjeev Sharma ji has asked several questions about Canada. So one of the things that I would say is that we have, we are part of, we are part of Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America. We have a sister organization, completely independent, but a sister organization called Vishwa Hindu Parishad Canada. And their leadership has reached out to us to see, how we have how we formulated the agenda and how we put together the website and things like that. So I would request that please send us your contact information, and then we'll put you in touch with someone in VHP Canada who would be working. Hopefully, I mean, we don't attend their meetings, so we don't know. But the sense I have is that they will be working along the very similar lines to promote the Hindu agenda for Canada. But again, it's up to it's up to them. But we certainly will work very closely with them and give them all the material.
Ajayji, one thing that came to mind when Deepaji was sharing the site where the voters can give their impressions about the different public representatives, it reminded me, it took me back several years when LinkedIn did not even have 10,000 registered users yet. And
Right.
what made LinkedIn the great asset now for all professionals is because of all the information that's multi-connected. So the more of the Indian Hindu voters who frequent this website and answer some of those questions, and when their representatives see that that these guys are very actively participating, the more the pressure on our public representatives to respond to our queries as well. So I think that will be a very useful asset for all of us. It's a win-win. The more all of us contribute, the more we'll get out of it, and the more political representatives will be sensitive or empathize with our issues and help us with that.
Absolutely. That's a really well made point. Thank you. So let's see. Some people have raised a question, or let me see what the question is. So Asha Jadeja ji has said that are we 501c? Yes, we are 501c3. I used to be based personally. I used to be based in Bay Area. I'm in Pennsylvania. Dhananjay ji is in California and San Diego, and Deepa ji is in New Jersey. So that's where we are based, and I think we'll be glad to be in touch with and give additional details to whoever wants it. Ashaji, thank you for asking the question. We have seen several of your postings online, and I think we, as Hindu Pact, follows you on Twitter. Sanjeev Sharma ji has asked who is the person in Canada. So there are two people in Canada, and I'll share their names with you. So Mahendra ji is one of them, and Manish ji are the two people. But I'll please reach out to me, and I'll be glad to share the details. I'll give out my email address is just Ajay Shah, one word, at vhp-america.org. I'll be glad to share glad to share the details about the Canadian organization with you.
Any other questions, Ajay ji?
Those are the owner. Bharat Kapadia ji has a question. You know what? I'm going to allow everyone to talk. That becomes easier. So there are only a few people. So it's so whoever wants to talk, please. I'm just raise your hand, and you're all allowed to. Everyone should be able to talk. This is a small group, but just please be mindful that we have about 150 people watching live across multiple media channels. So please just be cognizant of that. Okay, and yeah, please feel free to jump in and talk.
Yeah, I wanted to say, Ajay, Deepa, and Dhananjay, thank you for putting together all this data and information for us. I'm so happy to see this. I didn't know that Hindu Pact is different from Hindu American Foundation, and I'll learn more now. I've sent my phone number, Deepa, on the chat, so you have it, and maybe we can talk one of these days. But thank you for doing this.
You're welcome. And we are all, we know people over there. We have worked through our student days. We have worked together with people in Hindu American Foundation and Kona. We were all together at some point and at different parts of our lives. So everyone is good friends.
I think Bharat ji has his hand raised.
Bharat ji, you have a question? Bharat Kapadia ji?
Maybe we can. Oh, I guess not. Yeah.
Maybe not. Okay, and okay, with I don't think there anyone, right? Dhananjay ji, back to you.
Again, thank you everyone for participating. I know it's Sunday evening, it's getting close to the election time, barely 12 days or so left. Very briefly, again, very much appreciate everybody taking time out of their busy schedule. And now that Diwali is so close to us, and I wanted to just wish happy Diwali to everybody. If there are no other questions,
Sanjay ji, please send me an email and I'll give you the details. Okay, thank you. And namaste, everyone.
Yeah, I just have one last thing to add before we close. We are really looking for participation from from the mandirs. So anybody who's watching this particular webinar live or on Zoom, if you have contacts with Hindu mandirs, please get in touch with us. Our email addresses are available online as well. And if you can just let us know, we want to engage with mandirs. We want to make them more active in this process. We're not looking at just 2024. We're just days away from this presidential election, but we're looking for every election to get involved in local elections, state governor elections, presidential elections. So this is just a build up to make ourselves better and better with each election cycle. So any support that we can get from our community, we'll be very grateful for it.
And Deepa ji, I should just add one thing, and that is that we have over 35, maybe close to about 40, 45 temples who are now displaying our standing banner that we have, the standee. So that's really gratifying that we started that activity almost as an afterthought. And, more mandirs we go to, people say, well, give us a banner and we'll put it up. So, and it's just purely voter education. It just says register to vote and go to vote, and basic all these steps in between, like verify your voter registration and all kinds of things. The 10 steps that we have created for all the voters, and we're putting this up in the mandirs. And I think it's one of the, there were always a couple of mandirs who were open to doing these activities, but it's really gratifying from our perspective that more and more mandirs are saying that, okay, yeah, we are okay with you putting up a banner. The next step is we want the mandirs to register the voters, and after that, the following step after that is for them to actually set up a polling booth in the mandir. So you can go for a darshan, vote, and come back home. It's just a simple concept, right? So that's where we want to go.
very true.
Right. Deepa ji, with that, and Dhananjay ji, can we
I
say?
think we can have a closure unless there is some other questions. Again, thank you everybody for your time. Please go out and vote. Like we all have been saying, the crux of this is the tools that Deepaji and Ajayji walked us through help us get better informed. And again, we are not trying to propose any particular one candidate over the other, one party over the other. We are just providing you tools with which you can analyze for yourself what the record of voting has been of your local candidates, whether it's senators, congressmen, and so on, even with the presidential election, without taking any particular side of a candidate or a party. Thank you again, and Shubha Deepavali to everyone.
Shubha Deepavali, if you guys can hear me.
Yeah.
Yes,
Great
we can.
discussion. We need more awareness in Canada, actually. And I would request you if you guys can help us.
We will definitely help you, and we are already talking to we have talked to the VHP Canada leadership, and we'll be glad to share our material with them and our technology with them. So we will, we are here to, help any Hindu around the world. So not just Canada, but, any country. If the Hindus want our technology, our help, our material, we'll gladly share it with them.
Thank you very much again.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you,
Namaste.
everybody. Have a nice
you.
day. Please do vote.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.